Yeah, good to see all of you again. Welcome back for our yeah, this has become now almost a tradition. Saturday. Yeah, I wanted to put on chat. So one thing maybe I should request in advance, maybe from Dharmagupta or Darya Chandrika, is whenever, if the sound gets bad and you don't hear me, maybe it's good to send me a quick note that it's breaking up, so that I can slow down or wait or something.
Okay. Through Zoom messaging system or through WhatsApp?
Oh, no, I thought here through Zoom. In the chat, I'll try to notice. Or, I don't know, maybe it's better through WhatsApp.
Yes, because when you don't have a connection over the Zoom, you can't receive the message either. So better through WhatsApp.
Okay, yeah. All right, good. So, welcome to everyone. And I will say, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Iti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarine, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa-sindhubhya evacha, Patitanam bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo. Hey Krishna, Karana-sindhu dinabandho jagatpate, Gopesha gopika kanta radha kanta, Namostute Satya-kanchana gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu, Sute Devi Pranamami, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasari, Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have a bhajan to sing. I hope you have all found it. This one maybe you already know. It's one of the old favorites. And we used to sing this. I don't think there was any time in the life of the Gauranga Bhajan band that we did not sing this song as part of the presentation in the first part, in the non-electronic music part. Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're all singing together. Yeah, 2 lines repeating like that. If anyone has kartals and mridanga, feel free to join in. Bhajahū mana śrī-nanda-nandana, abhaya-caran vindure. Bhajahū mana śrī-nanda-nandana abhaya-caran vindure durlabha mānava-janama sat-sańge durlabha-mānava-janama sat-sańge taroho bhava-sindhu taroho bhava-sindhu śīta ātapa bhata-varishana dina jāminī jāgi śīta ātapa bhata-varishana dina jāminī jāgi biphale sevinu durajana biphale sevinu durajana capala sukha-laba lāgi capala sukha-laba dana yaubana putra parijana dana yaubana putra parijana kamala-dala-jala jivana talamala kamala-dala-jala jivana talamala bhajahū hari pada-nitire bhajahū hari pada-nitire bhajahū hari pada-nitire Shravana kirtana smarana vandana pāda-sevana dasyare Shravana kirtana smarana vandana pāda-sevana dasyare Pujana sakhī-jana ātma-nivedana Pujana sakhī-jana ātma-nivedana govinda-dāsa-abhilās 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 bhajahū mana śrī-nanda-nandana abhaya-caran bhajahū mana śrī-nanda-nandana abhaya-caran durlabha mānava-janama sat-sańge durlabha mānava-janama sat-sańge taroho bhava-sindhu taroho bhava-sindhu. And the translation, O mind. So this is addressing the mind, O mind. Just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. Sat-sańge. So durlabha, of course, means rare. Labha means to obtain, to get, to acquire. And dur means far. And then it comes to mean also difficult. So durlabha, mānava-janama. Janama means janma. And this is a typical system of adding a syllable in order to, for a song to have the right rhythm, scansion. Durlabha mānava-janama sat-sańge taroho bhava-sindhu. Oops, where did that? So bhava means material existence in this context. The word bhava with a long A means emotion, feeling, mood, can mean ecstasy, as in bhakti bhava, the stage of advanced devotion described by Rupa Goswami. But here, bhava with short A comes from the verbal root bhu, which means to exist. So the ocean of existence, the ocean of material existence. Then verse 2, both in the day and at night I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of the heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, uselessly serve wicked and miserly men. This is pretty strong language. Śīta means cold, ātapa means heat, bāta means wind, parishana from Risha means rain, dina jāminī, jāgi means day and night, jāgi I remain awake. Biphale, pala means fruit, biphale means no fruit or bad fruit. Sevinu kripana durajana. Kripana, Prabhupada says, is the opposite of brahmana. The Brahman is generous, is munificent. The kripana is stingy and miserly. And again, we have this durajana, people, durjana, bad people. And capala, sukha-laba, lāgi. Capala means flickering, and sukha, happiness. Labha, I think there should be an H in there, labha. Again, gaining happiness, which is flickering. Lāgi, it means lāgi-a, which means taking up or beginning. And this re, which comes at the end of each of the second line, is just a word of exclamation, a kind of emphasis word. Oh my, oh my. Third verse, what assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons and family members? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. Dhana, yaubana, putra, parijana. So dhana means wealth, yaubana, youth, putra, sons, and parijana, family members, the people surrounding one, parijana. Ite ki ache paratitire. This is a kind of rhetorical question. What assurance of happiness is there? Ache, to be. What is there? Ite, in this, I think it says. Paratiti, I'm not sure. Parati, iti. And then this very nice image in the second half. Kamala-dala-jala, jivana talamala. This life is tottering, shaking, talamala, like a drop of water, jala, on a lotus petal, kamala-dala. And of course, the idea is that it can drop off anytime. Bhajahū hari pada niti hai. Therefore, worship bhajahū, Hari Paravalos, the Lord. And again, I'm not so sure about this niti in this case. Then we have the list in the final verse of what kind of bhajana to do. It is the desire and great longing of Govinda-dāsa to engage himself in the 9 processes of bhakti, namely, hearing the glories of Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering prayers to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense and so forth, serving him as a friend, sakhī-jana, and completely offering the Lord one's very self, ātma-nivedana, śravana, kirtana, smarana, vandana, pāda-sevana, dasya, hare, pujana, sakhī-jana, ātma-nivedana. So the order is a little bit different from what we have in the Bhagavatam. Śravana, kirtana, vishnu, smarana, pāda-sevana, and then vandanam, dasyam, satyam. Archanam, vandanam, dasyam, satyam. And then we have the word pujana instead of archana. Pujana is maybe a bit more Bengali than archana. So this is a nice meditation for us as we are in our locked down situations. Some of us may be more locked down than others nowadays. But in any case, a lot of devotees are saying, and others, people in general are saying, this situation becomes very conducive to being more reflective, thinking more about what's it all about? What's the purpose of life? And that's certainly a good thing, especially if people would have some information from the Vaishnavas. Purpose of life, serve Krishna, become an associate of the Lord, develop Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema. A lot of people are suffering because they have no idea what they're doing with themselves. Someone wrote that, oh, I've been learning how to juggle. You know, juggling? Taking some balls and throwing them in the air. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay, I think I'm back now, but we lost a whole bunch of others. No, we didn't. Okay. All right. Yeah, as we were saying, kamala-dala-jala jivana talamala. Similarly, at any moment, our connection can be lost if we're not careful. We want to keep We want to keep our connection with Krishna. Everything else may be lost, but let's keep our connection with Krishna. What do you think? Good idea? Today, by the way, at least here, is Sita Navami, the appearance of Sita Devi, Mother Sita. Prabhupada, mostly, I think, when he would refer to Sita Devi, he would say Mother Sita, which is interesting. I wondered about that because, you know, someone skeptical may say, well, but Sita Devi didn't have any children. But from another side, as I explained this morning in our Bhagavatam class here in Nilachal Vedic village, I explained that Sita Devi is associated with the earth. She appeared from the earth and she disappeared into the earth at the end. Sometimes it's said she is the daughter of Bhumi Devi. But someone after the class raised the question, how could she be the daughter of Bhumi Devi if the Lord is the husband of the earth? Well, so then we decided maybe she's not the daughter of the earth. Maybe she is the earth, identified with the earth. That might take some more research. Problem is with Ram Lila, you get, of course, Valmiki Ramayana as sort of the base text, but then there's different versions of Valmiki Ramayana. And then there's so many other Ramayanas which people are familiar with. Anyway, Sita Devi Ki Jai. Today's also the appearance day of Janava Mata, the consort, the wife of Lord Nityananda, along with her sister Vasudha. Nityananda had 2 wives. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Lava and Kusha, of course. So in that respect, Sita is certainly mother. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't thinking of Lava and Kusha. Okay, Janava. What's interesting, one thing that's interesting about Janava Devi is how she became not just a guru, but she became the leader. She was like the acharya for all the Vaishnavas of Gaudadesh for some time. After Nityananda Prabhu disappeared, then there was this famous gathering festival at Khetri-gram. Narottam Das organized. Narottam Das Thakur and Janava Devi was there. All, we say in English, anyone who was anyone was there. Everyone, all the Vaishnavas were there, and Janava was recognized, Janava Devi, as, in some sense, the leader of them all. And today is also the disappearance day of Madhu Pandit. And I was trying to learn something about Madhu Pandit, but I didn't have much time. And all I found was that he was one of several followers. It's not clear, was he a direct disciple? But it's quite possible. Disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. Apparently Gadadhar Pandit had quite many disciples. Something which is kind of lesser known. And Madhu Pandit founded the Radha Gopinath temple in Vrindavan. This should be of special interest to you in Radhadesh. Madhu Pandit is the founding acharya of Radha Gopinath worship. And that temple is just around the corner from the Radharaman temple. You go to the right of the main entrance of Radharaman Gar. What is it called? Gera, yeah. Radharaman Gera. Before you go in the main entrance, you go a little to the right, go straight, go down a few meters, and just to the left, there is the Radha Gopinath temple. Quite a large temple. The descendants of Madhu Pandit are there doing the worship. They're from Bengal. I met one of the priests and his wife. Nice folks. Madhu Pandit Gosai ki jai. Janava Devi Goswamini ki jai. And Sita Devi Maharani ki jai. All right, so did we have anyone who wanted to share something?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Veera Gopal Prabhu has something.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go. Yes, we're just beginning almost to hear you, but your microphone is turned off. Now it's off. Okay.
My humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
How are you, Maharaj?
Well, I'm still kicking, as we say.
So nice to see. Thank you, Maharaj. I am here in Patamundai since last 45 days, and I have the privilege of associating with Haladhar Swami, and we were reflecting on the verse 10.14.8, Tatanukampam Susamikshimanu. And from there, I did some research or wanted to find out further lectures on this verse, but I did not find much. As a matter of fact, there appears to be only 2 that I could track down on ISKCON Desire Tree. And this, what I have extracted is from Vrajavihari Prabhu's presentation on this verse, which really inspired me. And Vrajavihari Prabhu is quoting Burijan Prabhu on 5 filters that one needs to consider whilst eventually taking action in difficult circumstances. So with your permission, and with the permission of all the Vaishnavas assembled, to whom I pay my humble obeisances, I'd like to just briefly present this little writing.
Okay.
Thank you. Is my voice audible? Is it clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So when tribulations do come about, it is important that we search for our rest in correct place. Our general tendency is to adjust the external circumstances. The shelter, what we should seek, however, is not linked to the external circumstances. We tend to rely on our prowess, abilities like intellect, influence, affiliations, but none of these can provide us the real shelter we need. Our shelter has to be deeply in Krishna. The key being the internal condition of the heart. If the heart and consciousness are fixed and surrendered with firm faith at the lotus feet of Guru and the Lord, this ultimate shelter will give us the ability to remain equipoised in the face of the most adverse and perplexing situations. When something in our life is giving us problems, we tend to want to ask Krishna to change those circumstances, or we say that I must do something about this. Rather, we need Krishna's help to change ourselves within. We need to pray, and through prayer, we need to relinquish our control over everything, but especially circumstances that are beyond our control. So we have to give over our circumstances and our illusory control over them to Krishna. And the result of that is eternal peace, regardless of what the external circumstances are. The result of that is internal peace, regardless of what the external circumstances are. We need to be mindful of our discontentment, where we tend to blame external circumstances, whereas discontentment is an internal state. Therefore, we should see this as Krishna calling us to him. We need to meditate deeply. Krishna has all power, and he is so inclined to his devotees, even to neophytes. When difficulties arise, often the big factor is fear, and we may feel a little cut off from Krishna's mercy. It's a proactive, willful trust in the caring and unfailing affection of Krishna, and a deliberate redirecting of our attention from circumstances to dwell on Krishna's words. That's the only place where we can find real relief. Generally, we tend to call out to Krishna when our own strength is proven to be completely insufficient. Example like the Vashamuni seeking shelter from initially Brahma and then Shiva, and ultimately, reluctantly approaching Narayan. In difficult times, fear tends to be strong and faith tends to be weak. So the challenge is to develop strong faith, dependency on Krishna, where we really don't know what the results are going to be. We need to learn to separate our fear from faith in Krishna. Fear is natural in unknown circumstances, but acting on faith in unknown circumstances is courageous. So what we can do is we commit our will to the Lord and surrender to his mercy, which is a real conscious choice. Second, if we don't get a clear response, we say, what is surrender right now as I'm going through this difficult phase? And then we move towards action. So how to perform practical action and yet remain fully dependent? When is it time to act? We should review two things: Krishna's power, and second, his inclination towards devotees. So there's always the question, when do you take action or prayerfully wait? How do we discern Krishna's desire when things are very perplexing and uncertain? Purijan Prabhu suggests 5 filters that we put our consciousness through as we think about practical action. First, we should be brutally honest and first examine our motive. What's behind our desire to act? What's motivating me to act now instead of waiting for Krishna to reveal his desire? Are our desires admirable, pure, and therefore worthy of action? Or are they self-serving, full of avoidance, tainted by fear, impatience, envy, pride, or desire to have everything under our control? what's compelling me to act? What is pushing me to change the circumstances from the way they currently are? Is Krishna's purpose for my desire to act, or is it Krishna's desire for my desire to act? Am I willing to be Krishna with Krishna's agent without no strings attached? Second is contentment. Is our attempt to draw strength and stability from Krishna or seek contentment in material external circumstances or relationships? Will I accept as Krishna's mercy whatever happens, or is my well-being wrapped up in outcome of the circumstances? Will I be willing to do whatever Krishna desires, regardless of the outcome? Or if the result is a disaster, will I bring Krishna? Third is prayer. Talking and thinking about prayer and acknowledging the need for a prayer is different than actually praying. Praying takes time. Without prayer, we share with Krishna our needs. Prayer is entering into Krishna's presence and engaging with him our concerns. In our prayer, we must set aside other things, physical, mental, and just be with Krishna and plead to Krishna our need for his mercy. Fourth is time. Have I given time enough to Krishna for him to work his plan? And the final question we must ask before taking action is, can I remain surrendered to Krishna and dependent on Krishna as I act? Am I ready to allow Krishna and his ways to reach their conclusion? Haladhar Swami stresses that it is very difficult to use the body and mind, our own prowess, to overcome the challenges, the problems that they themselves are the cause of. So we must develop complete, unflinching faith in Guru. We must devote everything, our body, mind, and senses in Guru's service, for he is as good as Krishna. And only by his mercy we can develop the ability to apply the 5 filters. Seeking his continued mercy, this unqualified animal offers his prostrated obeisances to you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm happily reminded of my godbrother, Murijan Prabhu, who is, as you said, the inspiration for his disciple, Brajavihar Prabhu, who is also my good friend. Yeah, these are all nice points. We could probably spend the whole time talking about that, but we have other things on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. My pranam.
Hare Krishna. Okay, did we have anyone else?
No, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, okay, maybe too short notice. Well, let me say in general, then, maybe for next time, to encourage you all to think of anything you would like to share with us for the next time. Not all at once, one at a time. But it's just nice. It doesn't have to be something special. We're all just doing whatever we do, trying to serve Krishna. Some reflection you may have, whatever it might be. Okay, so what was I going to talk about? Oh, yes. I wanted to, well, this is my sharing, I guess. I wanted to do my little presentation that I gave in the ISKCON Leaders Sanga this last February in Mayapur. Let's see if I can pull up this website. Oops. Can we make a a screen share, Dharmagupta.
Yes, now you should be able to share the screen. Please check, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, okay. There. There we go. Okay. Full screen. Yes. Okay, first, let me explain a little. Many of you are not familiar with this ILS, or ISKCON Leaders Sangha. This was something that was started, 6, maybe already 8 years ago. I think 8 years ago. Every 2 years, they're having this ISKCON Leaders Sangha, organized by the ISKCON Strategic Planning Group or Committee or whatever it's called. It's especially one devotee, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, my godbrother from Los Angeles, who for the last several years has put a lot of energy into helping the leadership of ISKCON to try to get itself better focused and to really develop a vision for the future. His particular concern has been, how does this movement continue after the generation of Srila Prabhupada's direct disciples are all gone? And at this point, I should mention, did I mention last week? No, couldn't have been. I don't know, I lose track of time. Our senior godbrother, His Grace Hansaduta Prabhu, departed the world just a few days ago. He was the GBC for Germany and several countries in Central Europe when I first joined the devotees in Germany. And it was Hansaduta Prabhu who recommended me for initiation. He met me, we met each other in Hamburg, and that very same day, he asked me, so would you like to be initiated? I think most of you know that story. Hansaduta was a very big inspiration for so many devotees. He was especially known for his quite amazing kirtans. At one point, he was referred to as Kirtan Thakur. And if you go, I suppose you'll find on YouTube, probably find recordings of some of his kirtans. He had a very high voice, very sweet actually. And he was very powerful. He inspired devotees to preach all over Germany. These were very intense times. I always remember that the mood when I joined, which he sort of encouraged, I guess, the mood in Germany was that we were the only devotees in the whole of ISKCON who were not in Maya. Basically, I don't know why, but somehow we were given the understanding that we are the serious devotees. and everywhere else in the world, they're just kind of, I don't know, they're sleeping or something. So anyway, Hansaduta Prabhu has departed for, let us pray for coming close to taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada. He was extremely dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. His whole life, he really had this spirit of doing everything for Srila Prabhupada. So the ILS has this purpose of trying to facilitate that devotees, in particular leaders within the society, are given strong inspiration and ideas, and sometimes very specific education points for how to improve their service, how to expand the mission of ISKCON. And so several months prior to the ILS meeting in Mayapur, which goes over a period of, 6 days, 7 days, the organizers invite various devotees to submit a proposal for a presentation. And then they select from all the proposals, and then they monitor very carefully the preparation of those presentations. They want to make sure that it's all within the spirit that they're trying to establish. So they wrote to me, asked me if I wanted, they invited me to submit a proposal. So I did, and this was my topic, Write and Be Happy, Voicing Our Way to Krishna Through the Written Word. The way it works in Mayapur with this ILS is you get 1 hour, exactly 1 hour to present. And devotees are selecting which presenters they will attend, because there are several presenters presenting at different time, at the same time in different venues. Altogether, there are some 70 presenters. And so they will then present whatever it is they're doing for 1 hour, and then again on the next day to a different audience, and on the next day to a different audience. For some, they will do more than 3 days. In my case, I was given three times to give this presentation. And I expected that my presentation will not be very popular because it's not a topic we hear much about. And I thought maybe, 6, 8, 10 devotees maybe will come. But I was happily surprised that each day between 40 and 50 devotees came, completely filling the room. So I could understand there is an interest in this topic. Devotees are feeling some sort of need to express themselves through writing. So this is a short presentation. As I said, they gave 1 hour, and well, we did it in less than an hour and then took some questions. So let's see if I can get this out of the way. How do we move? There. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so basically I want to encourage writing. And to think about how to foster a culture of writing, or writing cultures within Vaishnava communities. A culture means a sort of ongoing, a sense of encouragement for the practice. Now, you may say, well, there are so many books written by devotees. If you go to any of the sort of ISKCON temple shops nowadays, or if you go online and look at Bhaktivedanta library services online, they sell books of devotees. You'll say, oh, there's so many devotees writing. Well, yes and no. There are a few devotees, and that's very good. It could be more, but it could also be perhaps of different types, different qualities, different purposes. Anyway, it's the general idea is to develop a culture of writing. I said a little about how I overcame discouragement from writing, because in my early years as a brahmachari in the temple, I had, my services for some time distributing books, for some time pujari, short time I was the temple cook, different things. So there was kind of no question of giving time for writing. Nobody would. When I suggested that I would like to write, I was told, well, just forget it. But I didn't, and yeah, I'm glad that I didn't. I feel it's now a significant part of my service. Some statistics I think are interesting. That in 2018, this was in America, I believe, $593.7 million was spent on religious books. Now that's just religious books. Otherwise, almost $26 billion on books. That probably includes ebooks. And this you may find interesting also, that in America, self-publishing has increased significantly, 21% per year since 2012. Self-publishing means, for example, you may be aware, Kindle, which is part of Amazon, you can write a book and get it sold on Kindle as an ebook. If you're interested, there are all details online for how to do that. You can also sell your book on Kindle, make a little profit maybe. Although I don't recommend making that your main motivation. Children's books have also seen an increase, not a huge increase, but 4.3% per year. And children's books are, well, I would say they're really important from my own experience when I was a kid. I really liked books when I was a kid. And ever since then, I've been into books. So books were available since I can remember. If there's a lack of books related to Krishna consciousness for devotee children, that's unfortunate. And I present this presentation with the hope and expectation that it can help to bring about a brighter future for ISKCON by developing this writing culture, writing community. So I hope as I go through this, you'll understand that, yes, I'm referring to you also. You too can be a writer. Now this image I put here of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur could be slightly intimidating. In other words, you could feel like, oh, well, if we're looking at Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and at the same time you're suggesting that I can write, my answer would be no, I can't write, because I am not like Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, nor am I like Srila Prabhupada, nor am I like any of the other of the great acharyas of the previous ages, so forget it. No, don't think you can slip out that easily, because Srila Prabhupada wrote to Brahmananda in 1969. All students should be encouraged to write some article after reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. They should realize the information, and they must present their assimilation in their own words. Otherwise, how they can become preachers. The word assimilation, some of you may not know. To assimilate it's what you do when you eat. Digestion is the process of assimilating your food so that it's giving energy and materials of your body. So here, Prabhupada's suggesting if we're reading the literature, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and so on, to get this into our skin, maybe another way of putting it. He says, he puts together these two ideas. One is to realize the information and then present. Present how? In your own words. In your own words. And this comes back to this point I make in the subtitle of the presentation, voicing our way. How did I put it? Voicing our way back to Krishna. To find our writing voice, so to say. And then Prabhupada has this sort of challenging rhetorical question. Otherwise, how they can become preachers? The context here, I suspect, was for back to God. So this would be one venue. Back to Godhead magazine is still going on. It's still being published. I guess it's once every 2 months now, but it's going on. One can write for Back to Godhead. And I'm suggesting an affirmation for writing. You've all heard about the affirmations, Mahatma Prabhu, his japa affirmations. I'm always promoting his japa affirmations book. So here's a writing affirmation. And the writing affirmation is very simple. I allow myself to write. There can be other sorts of affirmations related, but these, you can make a list of them. affirmations are present tense, positive statements, generally first person, I, right, and you're saying something as if it's already happening, even if it's not happening yet. Now, the question I asked was, who can write and to whom or for whom to write? And the answer to that second question is that we have to ask ourselves, for whom am I writing? Who is my audience? Who do we imagine ourselves writing for? And the suggestion of one of my professors was, he said, write as if you're writing for your little sister. My professor's point was that graduate students, doctoral students, should not try to write big fancy words that are too difficult for anybody to understand. They should write in simple way, clear. They should write clearly. They should have clear ideas. So he said, write as if you're writing for your little sister. Okay, so if I'm talking, I'm telling myself now I'm a writer and I have some idea of who I'm writing for. So what to write? Of course, the order of these questions might be different, because you might think, well, first I have to think about what I'm going to write, and then I can think about who I'm writing for. That's okay. But these questions will come up. What to write? And again, the Prophet wrote to his disciples, right? Ram Prabhu. This was earlier, this was 1967. If you continue to write articles on the basis of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly they will appeal to the core of the hearts of all human beings, and surely they will respond. So continue the policy scrupulously and you will be successful. So it's the same thing he's saying, write articles. He's not really being specific here, just on the basis of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But then he's encouraging by saying that there will be a positive response. You will touch the core of the hearts of all human beings. Wow, imagine doing that. And then he says, you will be successful if you continue the policy scrupulously, policy of writing. A little bit back to the question of who to write for, I want to suggest you may want to just write for yourself, and that's fine. This can be purifying, it can be therapeutic, it can be clarifying, it can be so many different things for yourself. And one thing that you might try, if you're wondering what to write, is to take one verse of Bhagavad Gita and rewrite that same verse in your own words. I know you'll be a little surprised to hear that. What? Write in my own words? Yes, write it in your own words. Write it in a way that you feel helps you connect with what Krishna is telling you. Because we want to read with this understanding, this spirit, that Krishna is speaking to me, the acharyas, the Vaishnavas, the Bhagavatas, devotees, they're speaking to me. How are they speaking to me? So it may help us to in a sense, write in your own language, whatever your mother tongue, your first language is. Turn a verse into a small poem. Make it a line in a drama. So many things can be done. Yes, articles can be written, assimilated from books. And we have tried, we've experimented with this. Some of you have participated, and I'm grateful for your participation. We've done these Krishna Smarana and Ram Smarana and Gora Smarana books. We could do more of these, I suppose, but now we're working on Bhagavatam. And I will get to that when I'm finished with this. ISKCON history. We go about our ISKCON lives more or less, some of us more, some of us less. But what about writing some oral history or recording some oral history? Something from your own experience, something from others. You can interview others. If it's not written, it gets lost. People forget. What about giving credit, appreciating devotees who have done service in the past, and for whatever reason we don't see them now? And then there's blogging. This is a kind of fairly recent genre, and I find this a very nice format for writing, to reflect on all things Krishna related. I often point to my godbrother, His Holiness Damodar Swami, who has a website called Waves of Devotion, and he has a blog which he sends to anyone who wants to subscribe once a week. It's called Monday Morning Greetings, in which he reflects on something related to Krishna consciousness from his own life, from his own experience, often from something that happened just that last week, sometimes from much earlier in his life, sometimes from a conversation he had, or something he has read. And he's a very, very expert writer, and I would say that I strongly recommend you read some of his writing to get an idea of the sort of flavor in general that is wanted, especially for this Bhagavatam reflection project, second canto, being the one we're going to be working on. Yes, that's his website is called Waves of Devotion. And yeah, you'll find his blog there. And then there's so many other journals. There's thousands, there's hundreds of thousands of journals of all sorts for all kinds of people, all kinds of popular journals and specialized journals and more specialized journals, and you name it. In particular, I mention here yoga journals. The yoga scene is there, and they just might be open for your article. There's something called ISKCON Communications Journal. And this is little known by most devotees, mainly because now it's been out of circulation for, at least 10 years, I think. But the plan is that it comes back. It's being revived, starting with just one issue per year. But if you want to see what sort of articles are there in past issues, you can again look online. Just search, I think, in Google, ISKCON Communications Journal, and you will find the archives. It went on for several years. Lot of different sorts of articles, all focused one way or another with ISKCON communications, so concerned with public. What is connection of ISKCON with the public? And several of these articles are written by ISKCON well-wishers who are not, we say, members, practitioners, taking sort of outsider perspectives. So that may also be interesting. And then there's any number of what we may call creative genres. I personally like the genre of drama because this can be quite easy to write. Drama is about dialogue, so it's easy to think up dialogue. But it's easy on one level. It's not so easy on a deeper level to develop a drama in a way which will, if it's performed, move the audience in the way that you want them to be moved. This is, of course, what our great acharyas were doing. Srila Rupa Goswami, he seems to have considered himself, more than anything else, a dramatist. He wrote not many dramas, only 3 are known, Sanskrit dramas about Krishna Lila. And he wrote them, in one sense, as illustrations of what he is writing in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. And perhaps also it goes the other way around. He's giving examples in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu from his Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava, and maybe from his, what's his third one called? Dhana Keli? Yeah. Short stories, novels, novellas, and poetry. And we have a novelist listening in as we speak. Hiranya Pandit, are you there? I think I saw him. Hiranya Pandit is in Finland. He writes novels, all kinds of, I don't know what he writes because he only writes in Finnish language. But he writes novels that weave in Krishna consciousness in various ways. And yeah, these are adventure novels and mysteries and I don't know, science fiction. How many you've written now? 10, 11? At least 10 novels I know he's written. And he prints them and he takes them out and he sells them on the street. Maintains his household this way. Now, how's that for a way of practicing spiritual life? Poetry, creative nonfiction, that's a category I only recently came across. Creative nonfiction. Well, you can look it up and get an idea what it is. It's not fiction. It's nonfiction. So you're. It's a kind of, from what I've seen, examples of it. It's like reportage. It's telling a story from real life in great depth. So it's like an extended reflective report on some particular situation or event or problem or issue. So that's I mean, that takes a lot of expertise to write that kind of article, but it could be done also with a Krishna conscious focus, no doubt. I also want to encourage the writing of book reviews. A book review is a response, a thoughtful response to a book that you have read in which you are sharing about the book with others. For examples of this, I suggest going to the website of The Harmonist. This is run by His Holiness Kshetra Swami and his followers, and they do occasionally some book reviewing. This is a very standard kind of activity that's done in the real world, and this is a very good way to encourage higher quality writing by devotees. Because if you know that your book is going to be reviewed and that review is going to be published, you need to be very careful that you've done a good job. Where and when to write? Well, as Lord Brahma says, Yane prayasa udapasya namante eva jivanti mukhariktam bhavadiyavartam stane stita shutigatam tanavan manovir. E prayaso jitajito api tais trilokya. So the key word is, phrase is stane stita. Stay wherever you are. Wherever you are, and especially now where we can't go anywhere anyway, very much, why not do some writing? You may say, well, I will do this writing when I'm older. Now I'm too this or I'm too that, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced, I'm too busy, I'm too, what else? Fill in the blank. But actually, the time is now. Creating a special space for yourself to do this, and this can be a physical space, a mental space, and making a space in time for yourself, making time for yourself. Again, not to say I have no time, because there never will be time unless you make the time. And it's also recommended by anyone who is a practitioner of writing that we write every day as much as possible. A little bit of writing, just as we read every day, so some writing is a good thing. When I get involved in a writing project and I want to really move forward with it and and not get bogged down, not get stuck, I will make a quota for myself of a number of words, minimum number of words that I will write. And when I'm doing a longer project, I've found that if I decide minimum 500 words, that keeps me moving. Those 500 words may get deleted later on after the in process of editing, or maybe part of it gets deleted, but you have something to work with, something to work around, something to improve. Whereas if you just sit and stare at the page or the screen and nothing comes, you don't really get anywhere. So you just say, okay, now I'm going to write one word after another, just like putting steps one after another. And then with a little practice, you may find that you can get into a flow. And in this phase of writing, you don't want to be self-critical. You want to just let it flow. Later, you want to come back with a different hat on, your critical hat. So you have two hats. One is creative, one is critical. The creative hat, you just, you let ideas come, you put them down, and then later you come back and you, now you're being critical and you're asking yourself, does this make any sense? Is this important? Is this what I wanted to say? Who am I saying this for? What is the bigger point? And so on. What is it that bothers me? Some writers say that writing comes out of pain. You want to write? Then go where the pain is and start there. I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche who said, that I don't have the exact quote, but something like he was writing with his own blood. It's like using the, pricking his finger and write. He was, anyway, he was a very intense person. Okay, why write? This is Krishna Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita speaking. It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or not, it is for self-purification that I wrote this book. So this is interesting because it's Krishnadas Kaviraj speaking about himself. He's speaking in the first person, and he's first giving credit to the Vaishnavas and Gurus that he writes. He says that I attempt to write about the pastimes. And then he concludes, whether I know it or not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. So then he's speaking about his motivation or the purpose, and he's saying, first and foremost, it's about self-purification. Prabhupada says in his purport, one should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. That's interesting. What should be the motivation? To purify oneself, not for credit. So this is the why of writing. This is the motivation. And well, he says two things, of course. One is just for oneself, purification. But then through that purification, what happens? Something quite amazing. One associates with the Lord. Who would not want to associate with the Lord? Okay, I want to suggest that while we have the wonderful shastras, the works of our acharyas, and you can say our whole mission of ISKCON is to distribute as widely as possible the books of our acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada, who is representing so many of the previous acharyas. So we may say, well, then why should I write anything? Well, here's one reason to write, and that is that people want to hear what is your experience. They say, you know, okay, that's all very good. You have all these books from the great personalities of the past. But what about you? Tell me, you know, tell me what's your experience? People want to know something about, they're interested, they want to connect to Krishna, but they want to connect through you because you're experiencing Krishna. That's preaching. I remember Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj saying, commenting in one of our sannyas candidate discussions in Mayapur, he said, preaching means sharing your experience, nothing more. Nothing more. Getting back to writing of articles and books in perspective of what's going on in the greater world, thousands upon thousands of books and articles are being written and published and read about all different religions of the world. The Christians are writing and publishing every year thousands of new titles. Some are, you know, devotional, emotional, or promotional books, we may say. Some are scholarly books on Christian theology, all kinds. I did my master's degree at Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, which is a consortium of 9 different Christian seminaries where they train their ministers and priests. Some were Catholic, some were Protestant, one Unitarian school was there, and so on. And they shared their library. The whole idea why they all came together, they said, why don't we, you know, save by sharing a library? So they built this beautiful library, which at that time had 250,000 books, physical books in the library. That's just physical books. They have so much more than that online in digital form. This is a small library. I mean, but this is all religious books, mainly Jewish and Christian, and maybe some Islamic literature. But this is all just religion. 250,000 books. So again, what are we doing? Well, something, but it could be more. Now, back to this the whole purpose of this presentation in the context of the ISKCON Leaders Sanga. We were requested, those of us presenting, to connect our presentation to at least one of, I guess there were 5 or 7 bullet points of themes that they were concerned about that we should address with respect to our mission. So in red, I'm quoting one of those concerns. So I'll just read. We need to be thoughtful about how we can connect our tradition with the present and the future. How can we meld, that is, how can we bring together traditional values and sacred concepts from our Shastra with the need to remain relevant to the ever-changing society we live in? So this is one of the questions of the ILS organizers. So I'm responding to this by saying, we can do this. We can do this melding of tradition, values, etc., with the need to remain relevant. How? By articulating those values and concepts well in ways that resonate with people today. This is crucial for sinking roots in existing cultures and for carrying on the tradition. Okay, that maybe sounds very abstract, but that's a general principle. We need to express, we need to articulate, we need to speak using words, re-expressing in modern language in ways that people will resonate with them. Okay, how to write? Well, we're all fortunate. I suspect all of us who are listening in here, we've all learned in school the basics of writing. Actually, it's we shouldn't take it for granted. I remember when I was so many years ago in Nepal, staying in Gurukul. Yeah, this was the early 90s. And the local workers would come for their daily work. There were gardeners and there were some construction workers all doing things in the Gurukul. And they would come and they should register each day to show that they are present. And all of them, how would they register? They would register with a thumbprint on a sheet within a ledger book. And I asked devotees, why are they doing like this? They said, because they don't know how to write. They don't know how to write their name. And it's hard for us to imagine. It's practically inconceivable. But so many people in the world are in this situation. Right around here, I suspect, where I'm staying, we are surrounded by tribal area, Adivasis, villagers, very simple people. So anyway, we are blessed. We have learned to write. This gives us a certain power. We have a power of words. And how to write? Well, start with practicing, as Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, abhaya-caran tu kaunteya. And yes, vairagyana chagriyate, this is also appropriate. Vairagya, don't be too attached to what you write, because your first attempts may not be so good. That's all right, just keep trying. And this leads to the next point about getting feedback, that terrible word, but we all use it this way. Get response from others, someone that you would value their response. Get them to read what you write and encourage them to be honest in their appraisal of what you've written. Please tell me, what's wrong with this? How could I improve it? Or should I just start over? Or, tell me, what do you think of this? And then finding your writer's voice. This is often a theme in books giving advice on writing. And I mentioned this in my presentation. There's one book, I think you can find it online, called Writing Down the Bones, which is a kind of inspirational book with nice reflections from one writer, encouraging, just write. But what I wanted to suggest was the idea of a voice. What is your voice? And I'm giving example here of Pranada Devi's book, Wise Love, Bhakti and the Search for the Soul of Consciousness. She published this, was it last year or already 2 years ago? And very nicely written book with her voice. And what is perhaps striking, her approach, she is addressing the fact that this idea of mindfulness has become so popular, especially in the yoga world, the self-help world, all these kinds of areas. Mindfulness, that's the buzzword now. You'll find whole shelves of books on mindfulness in the bookstores now. So what Pranada Devi is saying in her book is, all right, mindfulness, that's okay, but it's actually missing the point. Because what's really needed is heartfulness, not mindfulness so much as heartfulness. And maybe what is also required, I confess, I haven't read the whole book, but she may be bringing the two together, mindfulness and heartfulness. A couple of tips I gave here. Don't use cliches and don't imitate Srila Prabhupada's language and phraseology. A cliche is a phrase which is used and used again and overused. And it was very good when it got overused and now it's terrible. So we have to recognize when something is a cliche and avoid it, unless we are very explicitly and purposely using the cliche in a particular context. That can also, sometimes that can be done effectively. Writing, we usually think of as something you do alone by yourself, but it could be something you do with another person, or maybe with more than one person. There are writer circles. And this is getting back to my subject of cultures of writing. If, for example, amongst all of you who are listening now, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of you would connect to each other and say, let us meet once a week and read to each other what we have written and get responses from each other to our writing. This could be a source of inspiration. It could be a source of also very good insight for improving your writing. A lot of good things can come about from this. I attended a writer's circle of my sister-in-law. This was, I don't know, 3 years ago or so. I was visiting brother and sister-in-law. Oh, it must have been more than that, because I think, yeah, my father was still alive. Okay. Oh, ouch, already 6 years ago. And one day she said, do you want to come and attend my writer's circle? Okay, so I went with her, and it was a group of maybe 7 or 8 people, friends, and they were going around the circle, and they were each reading something they had written that day, that week. And they were very seriously listening to each other and very seriously, well, encouraging, and at the same time, it was like a group reflection, how to bring out in the best possible way a person's writing. It was really quite interesting how that went. Obviously, that depends very much on developing trusting relationships. I mention here my collaboration with Radhika Raman Prabhu on our 2 books, the Bhagavata, Sacred Text and Living Tradition, and the Bhagavad being over a period of, altogether 10 years, 12 years. It took us 7 years to get the first book out, I think, maybe 6 years, and then 7 for publishing. And it took us another 3 years to get the second book done. This was a wonderful experience. Both of us enjoyed it very much, to meet once a week and discuss our work, our translation work, to help each other with what we were doing. Collaboration, very nice. Okay, I don't see my own heading here, so I don't know what it says. Conclusion. Conclusion. Yes, it's time for a conclusion. So make a writing action plan. That means start writing by writing an action plan. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Step 2, get reading. If you're not already reading, start reading. And of course, our foundation is Srila Prabhupada's books. And yes, writers need to read widely. If you only read Srila Prabhupada's books, you might be able to write well, but there's a danger that you will just be imitating Srila Prabhupada's writing. That's not what's wanted. So, other literature. Now that's a whole discussion. What else to read? I think we all have to make our own choices in a way. I don't like to tell devotees what to read, what not to read. I think we're all grown, mature people, and we need to know ourselves what is nourishing, what is spiritually nourishing, and sometimes what is helpful in practical terms. Therefore, I mentioned here there are many books about the craft of writing, which can be helpful. I mentioned one book. It's not about the craft of writing so much, writing down the bones, but so many books are there, excellent books on writing. Also, one needs to get curious, and one needs to be as much in writing, one is being a teacher, and to be a teacher, one needs to be a learner. And again, one needs to have sort of wide angle lens before one can really focus down to make a sharp and clear point in writing. I've already mentioned possibly collaborating with others, writing circle, and so on. But in general, it's nice. It's this culture, again, of just being connected with other writers, including devotees, but not necessarily exclusively devotees. You may get to know others who are writers, and just getting into the spirit of the kind of reflective work that is done by writers, I think is nourished by this. Of course, we all want to be careful who is our association, but yeah, that's the general point. And then, unless you're writing only for yourself, you want to get published. Getting published is a big topic. It's often the case that you already know before you start writing who is going to publish what you're going to write. Maybe it's your own friends who are doing some small cottage industry publishing. It might be a local devotee publisher who would be interested in your work. It can be good to contact the publisher in advance to see if there's hope, if they're interested in writing. If you're dealing with large publishers, they will have a very specified process of how you submit something for publishing. Not just big publishers, also all kinds of journals. They will all have their process, and usually that will be available online. You just go to their website and you find where it tells you how to make a submission. Or you publish yourself online, you make your website and you write on your website. I think some of you are doing this. I think Anandamayi is doing this, and others maybe also. I mentioned also Dhanurdhar Swami Maharaj, and many of the other preachers, senior devotees. You can of course search different swamis. They have their websites. See what they are writing, and you may get ideas from them how to make your own website, make your own blog. You may have a specific kind of theme you want people to hear about, and you want to get out something regularly for them to read. Many possibilities are there. Okay, now time is flying by. I'm gonna end. Let's see. How do I do this? I want to close this, and I want to open something in a different program. How do I do this?
Maybe you can, Guru Maharaj, you can stop sharing the screen. Then you open. You want to keep this one, or you just want to open another one?
I want to close this. I don't.
Then you please just stop sharing and stop sharing the screen, and in the bottom of the screen, you have a screen sharing.
It's not appearing.
Let me try it from my side.
Okay, wait, maybe I can just, if I just slide this, can you?
Now I
you
stopped
see
sharing
this?
it.
Oh, okay. So what I wanted to do, yeah. Okay, now I want to share something else. Let me try share screen. Yeah, okay, Microsoft Word, here we go. This should work. Here we are, okay. So, this is my invitation. I've written this up. I can also make it available for all of you. Many devotees are asking me, okay, you want to do this second canto reflections book, and okay, I want to do something, but this is the deadline. And so the deadline I have put in this invitation is 30th of June, 2020. That's this year. So that's in 2 months. Yes. And we're also giving you an email address of Lalitamrita Dasi in Mayapur to send everything first to her. And I should say also, sometimes devotees send something to me and, well, that's nice, but then I never know, have you also sent it to Lalitamrita, because I want to make sure she's helping me with this. So if you're going to send to me, please simultaneously send it to her. Okay, so here are the points that I'm making. We're concentrating exclusively on Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what you have to do will be to select some passage. It may be one verse, might be a few verses, it might be a whole chapter, or maybe a single word in a verse. And whatever you take, this is a springboard. It's like it's like a diving board on a swimming pool. You go out and you jump on the diving board and you dive in the water. So you're starting with this, what you've found in the second canto. And from that, then you're reflecting. And you're showing in some way how you appreciate this passage. And to help you, you imagine a specific audience, a good friend, a relative, a certain acquaintance, or even some famous person, or just the assembly of Vaishnavas. I shouldn't say just the assembly of Vaishnavas. And somehow you want to, and you'd like to help them appreciate what you appreciate from the Bhagavad. You can, of course, refer to certain verse and some passage in Srila Prabhupada's purports, but please be careful. Don't just be copying out of the Bhagavatam one thing after another. We can all read the Bhagavatam ourselves. You can refer to a passage, maybe quote one verse, be very sparing in what you quote, because we want to hear your own voice, your way of thinking, your experience. This does not mean to become self-indulgent. Self-indulgence means now we all have to just hear about you only. Sort of rambling on, going on and on about yourself. Oh, I did this and I thought that and I was, tell your whole life story. That may not be the point. So the challenge is to find the right balance. And so we're trying to find a balance and a sort of complement between yourself and the Bhagavatam. Some kind of a communication that's going on, how you're connecting. And then some basics about writing. You want to be coherent. You want to say something clearly. And you want to try to have one single point, a single reflection, and make this as clear and succinct, as compact as possible. This could be that you want to speak about one particular personality in Canto 2 that gives you inspiration, why this person gives you inspiration, how you find it, maybe you find it difficult to imagine Maharaj Parikshit or Shukadeva Goswami living in the 21st century. We might talk about that. There may be a certain passage, you read it once, now you're reading it again, and oh, now I get it, or I still don't get it. Why? What is this really about? So like this, a lot of different ways you can approach. You can write in first person, I am thinking like this, and so on. You might even be able to write in second person, addressing someone in the Bhagavatam. You say like this, and I find this so amazing. So these are different sorts of possibilities. I mentioned there are two kinds of writing. One is you're just letting it flow as best you can without being too critical. Some criticalness will be there as you're writing also in the beginning stage, but generally you make this distinction. You will come back to it later in a more critical, with a more critical eye. So it can be good after you write to let it sit for some time. Don't look at it. Come back a few days later and look at it again, and you're most probably going to find things that you can improve. Then it's good to have a trusted friend read it and give his or her response. Then you may want to edit again. More reading. And for many, I think almost all of you, English is not your first language, I know. So I understand. If you want to first write in your mother language, that's good. Then either translate yourself or have someone else translate into English. Yeah, there's different ways of going about this. Yeah, give it a go. And as I mentioned in the very beginning, please make it no longer than 1,200 words. 1,200 words. It can be shorter, can be a lot shorter, but The idea is to make something complete, something that when we read it, we feel like, we've read something, a nice reflection on some aspect of Canto 2 Bhagavatam. I wanted to also mention a detail. If you're reading second canto for the first time or after a long time, you will come to, what is it, chapter 5 or chapter 6? Chapter 5. That's, Srila Prabhupada gave this title, Purusha Sukta Confirmed. And you may wonder, what is that about? Purusha Sukta Confirmed? Purusha Sukta is a prayer from the Rig Veda. It comes toward the end of the Rig Veda in the 90th. It's the 90th hymn of the 10th mandala. So it's very near the end. And it's used as a prayer, but it's describing this Purusha doing a self-sacrifice. And he is dividing himself, his body, into different parts, and these different parts of his body are becoming the different features of the universe. And this is a kind of it's one story of creation, and it's also sort of describing the primordial sacrifice of the universe. So anyway, that chapter, Prabhupada calls it Purusha Sukta Confirmed. So it's kind of going back and referring to that chapter, sort of a mystical thing. Well, then, I'm going to stop there for now. And now I need to look. Uh-oh. See, I always do this mistake. I talk too long, and then you've asked all kinds of questions. Why is woman considered separate group in the varnashram system? Oh, yes. Why are they considered different? That's an interesting question. I don't feel like now is the time to get into that subject. It is an interesting question. Next week's subject suggestion, relationship with other devotees and conflict management. Ooh, okay. Maybe what we need to do, we can do that. Maybe what we need to do there is a bit more of a discussion than a one-way presentation as I've been doing. Okay. There's, oh yes, Carolina has sent us the link for Damodar Swami's Waves of Devotion website. And Sumitra is quoting Srila Prabhupada. A handwritten note to Hridayananda before he became Swami. And Prabhupada says, and you must all study very scrutinizingly all of the books so that when the need arises, you can repeat in your own words their purport. Also, I will be very pleased if you contribute articles to BTG. By writing regularly, what you read will become realized. As much as possible, read, chant, and preach. This is our life and soul. If we keep to this simple formula, then there is no doubt that we will be victorious wherever we go, and very soon we shall become the only religion in the world. Wow, okay. Here, Mitra Balaram has given us the link to ISKCON Communications Journal. Rasadadi Hari is giving us the full translation and purport. CC Adi 95. Sumitra, thank you. Jalangi. Nrsinga, okay, Jalangi's asking if I'm giving a lecture on Nrsinga Chaturdasi. Yes, I've been asked by Gaur Mohan Prabhu to give a seminar, but I gave him 3 options and he liked my first option, and it's the one which you've already heard. And that is the subject of Krishna consciousness and politics. So you're welcome to listen, but it's going to be the same presentation. We'll see. I may bring in, slightly different flavor. I may speak something more about Prahlad Maharaj, but basically that'll be the subject. That's going to be on the 6th. I think that's Nrsinga Chaturdasi, and it's going to be at, I think, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be in the afternoon. It's going to be part of the Singhachalam online festival. Then, let's see. Okay, Avadhuta Rai is asking how self-realized should one be in order to write? So here, you can put something little bit, mix, yes, thank you. I'm getting an afternoon prasad from Lord Jagannath. Oh, there's mango.
Yes.
Is that from our trees?
I think, I don't know.
And the mango season has started here. That's fine. Yeah, that's a big subject. I'm emphasizing this point that Prabhupada said, everyone, all of my disciples, everyone who used, these kind of words should write. But their qualification for doing that was that they were reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And they were practicing devotional service. These are the essential points. And what I want to suggest is that however little we have realized, we can share that. And the process of writing is helping the process of realization. Yeah, this whole subject of rasa versus rasa-abhasa and so on, that's a bigger subject. So I don't want to spend time with that here. I would say just start by reading Nectar of Devotion. And there's a little section at the very end on rasa-abhasa, which means semblance of rasa. Abhasa means semblance, reflection. So of course we want to be careful. And yes, therefore I say it's good to have someone check. And yes, it's a good point that rounds to samadhi. Okay, so there's different publications online. Okay, so the information about this writing project is what I just now presented, and I think I've made it available to some, but we can make it available again. You can send it around. I find the presentation of our thoughts supported by Shastra quotes a best presentation, a style most often used by Krishna Das, Kaviraj, and Srila Prabhupada. What do you think about this? Well, I would say that kind of presentation has its place, but there are other types of presentation. And what I'm suggesting for this second canto project is to be very sparing with quotation. The idea here is not that we're so much trying to, it's not so much, how to say, we're not trying to, argue Shastra. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to argue something for which then we need to have our quotes in place. It says this, and it says that, and it says this. That's not really what I'm trying to get here. So I hope you'll understand that. Okay, then. Samyakarani, how can we get the invitation for participate? Okay, same question. We'll send that around. Good. So yes, I will say, I wish you all a wonderful Nrsimha Chaturdashi festival coming up. What is it, this coming Thursday? Yeah, it's going to be a chance to, you can do something you've never done before, maybe chant Nrsimha Sahasranama, or chant 64 rounds of japa, or chant the Nrsimha prayers that we always chant, Namaste Narasimhaya, repeatedly, or perform a Nrsimha. Here the devotees are planning a Nrsimha drama. There's going to be a yagya here in the Goshala, and they're also planning a drama, Nrsimha drama, which I think is going to be in the mode of, it's going to be a very humorous one, just knowing who they have selected to be Nrsimhadev and who they've selected to be Hiranyakashipu. Anyway, I wouldn't be able to explain that to you. Two brahmacharis here who are very sweet and very big. Okay. So yes, I wish you all the best and have a good week.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much again. And we see you next Saturday.
I think we can do it again. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Haribol, haribol, haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Czy jakiś już teraz słuszność?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
a jak gdzieś spełniać